as we go through the program, I've been a little bit excited about talking about this because I think it affects many aspects of people's lives, the ability to negotiate. Just think about the areas in your life that you have to negotiate to get something done, whether it be at home with the kids or your partner, or at work with wages or a job, whether it be, I don't know, out getting drinks when you're out with mates trying to negotiate who pays for a beer. It's usually Andrew Murdoch. That's who usually pays for them. There's a lot of negotiating being done in the world today, and it's an extremely important part of life. So I'm excited today to talk to Sam Trattles. She is the author of Negotiate Your Worth and a master negotiator. Thanks for joining the program, Sam.
Hi, Will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Now, we all negotiate something, as I've just said, whether it's pay or a holiday or new fridges or something with your children. How important is it in life, negotiating skills?
Well, we do it every single day. That's the thing, is we don't even notice when we're doing it. As you say, buying a fridge and deciding which takeaway that we're going to have and all sorts of things every single day. It's about making sure that we feel more comfortable having them. I think that's where the block is that people avoid it because we've never really been taught how to do it.
So you've written a book, Negotiate Your Worth. Is it about improving your negotiating skills? Is it about identifying if you're good at it or not? What do you cover?
Yeah, a bit of both. So my mission is to help people to learn to love negotiating, if that's possible, and changing the way we approach it. So as I said, most of us have never been taught how to do it. So I've created a way for Australians to approach it that's a bit different than we've heard before. And I think that, if you don't like the word negotiating, I just say to people, look, it's about having a conversation to understand where you sit and where the other person sits and understand where we differ. So that's where the conversation can start, rather than about being adversaries across the table.
Oh, yeah, so that was my question. Is it about, holding that power, or is it about being a listener and really taking everything in and being able to make a decision from there? Where does that all fall?
Yeah, I think power is such a fallacy in the room. Everyone's coming together because I want something from you and you want something from me. So it's about understanding what those things are. So absolutely asking good questions and making sure that the other person is communicating really well. So culturally in Australia, we have challenges around not wanting to upset other people, and that comes out when we don't actually say what we want, and particularly don't say what we don't want. So, there's this feeling that if we say what we want, we're being too pushy, and if we say what we don't want, then we're being difficult. So we actually need to get past those taboos and have healthy conversations.
Do you back your negotiating skills? 133 882. What are your tricks that you use to get what you want effectively? I'd love to hear them. 133 882. You can text them in 0487 999 882. We're chatting to author of Negotiate Your Worth, Sam Trattles. And Sam, I wonder, for everyday people, everyone in this world, what are some really basic tips you can give for helping us in negotiating in different elements of our life?
Yeah, good question, Will. I think, we've got to go back to basics here and be clear about, before we actually go and talk to somebody about something that we want, do we know what we do want? And really work that out first. So invest some time in your preparation to making sure that, okay, I know what I do want, and making sure that I know where I will walk away from that. When is it not a good outcome for me? And so putting that, having those two boundaries, I guess you'd call them, then you can go into there knowing, I know when I need to walk away because I know I've thought about it beforehand. Often we just rock up to the meeting with a cup of tea or the conversation with a cup of tea and go, okay, what are we here to talk about? So we do need to invest a little bit of time thinking about ourselves and then thinking about the other person. What might their position be? Where might we differ? And just give that a little bit of thought, ruminating around your head, so then you're not surprised when the other person has a very different view to what you do.
The two hats that fall onto my head when I think about negotiating skills are running small business and being a parent. Both, you've got to have strong negotiating skills in both of those elements. Is that areas that I guess you've identified as, strong parts of negotiating?
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting. So when we're negotiating with little kids, I often get asked, my 4-year-old is an amazing negotiator, what do I do? I don't think they are amazing negotiators. I think they're excellent at repeating their positions. So you need to think about how you push back on that. But when it does come to teenagers, we are in the negotiation situation because they've been brought up to put their position out there and have a healthy discussion about it. So sometimes it's unhealthy, as it was in my family when I was a teenager. But yeah, it's very different at home. And then again, as you say, for business owners. So this book, Negotiate Your Worth, was specifically written for business owners because I had a corporate career and then came out into this world and had no idea how challenging it can be to negotiate your worth when it is your business that you're representing, and that's a different negotiation rather than somebody else's money, as I was before.
Maybe you're listening along, 133 882, and you've got a point in your life you need help negotiating. I think Sam would be happy to take your call. Give us a call with something like that, or like I just said, maybe in the parenting realm. How do you get your toddlers to do what you want? What are some of the tips and tricks that you use as a parent to get that beautiful little child of yours to give back the toy to their sibling, or to eat their vegetables, or to drink their water when they're meant to? I don't know. My list goes on of things that I try to get my 4-year-old to do, and I'm not very good at it. 133 882 if you've got any tips or tricks for me and everyone else listening in the art of negotiation. We're chatting with Sam Trattles. She's a master negotiator by trade, effectively. The small business thing, Sam, is an interesting one, because effectively you do wear many hats running a small business. It's not just, a CEO of a big company. As a small business owner, you run the books and you deal with customers and you deal with sales and marketing. You wear a lot of hats, and then to be able to put the negotiating hat on as well. Do you find that speaking to people in that space, that's a problem, or an area that they need help improving with?
It's a challenge. I mean, we are negotiating our worth every single day. So we're bucking the third big taboo in this country, which is don't talk about money. So when you have to talk about money every single day, that's a challenge. And so the negative to it is if we don't, then our bottom line is the one that gets punished. In my first 18 months in business, I look back now at what I was charging people because I was so frightened to say the words out loud about what I was worth. I ate baked beans a lot. And so I never eat baked beans again. So there's a reality there that if we can't negotiate our worth, then we're going to eat baked beans a lot, and that's not okay for the longevity of small business in this country, especially after the last 2 years that we've had. It's taken us sideways. So the businesses that have survived, first of all, need to congratulate themselves, but also need to think about, okay, how do I learn from this? I've taken clients I probably didn't want, and then how, because I had to eat, and then how do I progress into the new normal that is post-COVID and what the business looks like and our position and our worth.
I've got some texts for you here, Sam. One from Luke. I'm in the market for a new car. What's your advice? How do I get the best with my negotiating skills?
Love that question, Luke. Thank you. I love shopping for a new car. That's part of my fun. So I think setting the guardrails from the time that you walk into the dealership is really important. But being clear before you go there, having done your research, there's so much available online for you. But once you get into the dealership and really saying, I tend to say, I'm not here to buy a car today. And that sets so that when you get to the end of the conversation, where they always bring you into the office, sit you down, make you a cup of tea, get you a biscuit, and then they're pushing you really hard and saying, well, I'll just write it up in our book today for you. And when you get to that point where it's like, this deal doesn't feel like it's as good enough a deal as I want, then you can say, look, I said to you at the beginning of the day, I didn't really come to buy a car today. So that's when that dealer is now at a point where he's trying to hook you and stop you from walking out the door. So really thinking about what it is that you want before you get there, but also having a bit of a gameplay for when you get there so that you can exit without feeling uncomfortable or bullied into it. And I don't mean to say that all car salesmen are bullies, but they are trained salespeople. They are trained in this situation. So you've got to really be looking for their tactics and find ways that you can step away from it.
AKA bullies. Now I'll ask one more question. What about difficult conversations and being comfortable with putting yourself in a situation where, you know, it might not be where you want to be? For instance, if you're negotiating a wage at your job with a boss that you know well, or, you know, different elements that come up in your life where it's going to be difficult and you know it's going to be uncomfortable. Have you got any advice for people that may find themselves in those situations?
Yeah, we've all been in those situations, Will. I think it is uncomfortable, but if we don't go and have those conversations, well, where do we end up? So first of all, back yourself, and then think about, well, what's the position? So if it is a pay rise, for example, then we need to understand the policy. So what are the rules of the business about changing your band or changing your pay rate? And then typically you need to look at, okay, here's my job description, but this is actually what I'm doing right now, which is a lot more. So I'm looking after more staff, or I have a bigger budget, or I've got a bigger portfolio. So you need to demonstrate to the person that you're going to talk with as to what the reasons are. And so we often think, gosh, I'd like some more money in my wallet. That's not something I can deal with as a manager or as a business owner. I need a reason why your job has changed, which makes it relatively easy for me to say yes to you for a discussion about a pay rise.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like it. Sam, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate you stopping by and having a chat.
Perfect. Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Sam Trattles, she's the author of Negotiate Your Worth. Go out and get one of those if you found that chat interesting. She's a master negotiator, and I found that quite interesting, Jimmy. It was good fun. Now,